Well, hello everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. My guest today believes God has chosen her to make a difference, especially in teenagers' life. Before the pandemic and now after the pandemic, so many teenagers have been glamorizing suicidal thoughts and thinking that this is the best way to deal with their pains. My guest realizes that this is a global pandemic and this is something she really needs to focus on. She started a foundation in the United States to help teenagers who are having these difficult thoughts in their head. Franki Moscato, God chose me to tackle it. Former American contestant, works to stop teen suicide. As a former American contestant, she says she's dedicated herself to stopping teen suicide and the bullying that often presides from it. She's an American singer, songwriter, and actress. At 18 years old, she performed solo concerts with only her mic and keyboard and leaves her audiences in thunderstruck. Her vocal moves people of all ages with a creative mix of brilliant, composed, orderly, and inspirational selection. She went on to sing for the governor and was twice invited to open various pageants. What is so fascinating is not just her work in singing, it's about her realizing that through this fame she's got from singing, there's other side consequences that comes with it, such as bullying. She's met a number of online trolls who've condemned her work. We'll be talking about that and how she deals with it. Mostly, we'll be talking about the glamorizing of suicidal thought that the teenagers are going through today and why her organization is working hard to address this issue. Meet my amazing guest, Franki, as she shares the story. Hello, everyone, and welcome again to Painless Universal Conversation with myself and Welsh. Today's conversation is God chose me to tackle it. Imagine what God chose our guest here to do. Franki will be telling us what God has chosen her to do, why she felt it was really important to deal with this pain. The reason I'm not saying what this pain is because I want you to listen to this conversation. If you listen to the intro, you might know what the pain is already. But Frank will be telling you about her journey, a little bit about who she is again, in case any of you skipped that introduction. She's a former American Idol contestant, and she is working hard to change the mindset of a lot of teenagers. Meet my amazing guest, Franki, as she shares the story. Hi, Franki. How are you?
I am better than I deserve.
I'm super, super, super excited and I want to have you here, share this conversation with you because you're an amazing girl. You've done so much marvelous work utilizing your voice to touch so many. Before we get started, who are you?
Ooh, that's a good question. I am just a little Wisconsin kid, and I'm a student going to school. I'm in my sophomore year in college, going for business and entrepreneurship and political science. And I'm just a regular kid, but just very busy and focusing on the things that I can control, like, the gifts that I think God has given me, like my music. And I travel around my state and I perform and perform uplifting music, and I focus on my mission to fight teen suicide. And I really just love what I do, and I just want to reach my full potential in life and hopefully save some lives and fight this epidemic of teen suicide that is just growing in our world. And I'm right here in my hometown.
Yeah, so you said the epidemic. Okay. So when we talk about your singing career, I imagine that singing must have come naturally to you because I can't sing. I mean, I could sing a little bit, but not something so I would say passionately, this is something I did. When did you learn that this is something you could actually do, that singing is something that you actually enjoy doing? Was this something in your family background or what was it all about?
I never really thought that I was a great singer, but my parents really believed in me, and they thought I was they thought I was good, and they were so sweet and very supportive. I never even wanted to be a singer. I had big plans to be a doctor, and I had a doctor's kit throughout. I remember when I was in kindergarten, and that was my goal. I think all the way up until early high school. And I only sang because I loved it, and I wanted to save money for college by getting, putting out my tip jar, or just getting paid for weddings and corporate events. But I think it all ended up happening where I started volunteering at some hospitals, and I kind of messed around on the piano, and I would play for the doctors at the pediatric center. And they told me that that I could almost potentially save lives, almost kind of in the same way as being a doctor, by inspiring kids and being strong for them and uplifting them, um, who have those depressing and hopeless thoughts. So that really changed my life. And that's when I thought maybe I should seriously pursue music.
That's really good that you really thought about that because you've utilized this thing to go very far. Can you remember your first time you went on stage? How did that feel when they prepared you or decked you up and got your makeup done and said, go, you're on stage, go sing. Can you remember that time?
I remember it very well. I can probably we can probably show a video, but I would think I was 3 years old, and I had dance lessons at Richard's School of the Dance, and my teacher was Miss Patty, one of my biggest mentors. And I just remember going on stage, and my mom told me, when you're up there, you need to blow lots of kisses. So that was kind of the only thing I did on stage. More than dancing, was blowing these kisses. But I remember I honestly, it was love at first sight being on the stage.
Your pathway along the way included a tryout in the American Idol in 2019 after receiving the prize for the golden ticket. Wow, congratulations on that. You were then eliminated in the Hollywood round in March in 2019. When you decided that you wanted to go on this thing, because you've been singing for a very long time, let's go backwards. Before you got to the American Idol, when did you know at 11 that, okay, I could really sing? This is something I could actually do. I'm not afraid of audiences. I could do this because this is when you started as 11. When did you really realize that I'm good at this?
It was probably when I was 11 years old. Again, like I said, I didn't think I was that good of a singer, but I believed the people who told me I did, and I was encouraged by them. And that's when I realized maybe this is something that I could I could do with my life.
And American Idol, how did that come about?
That was a total accident. I remember always telling my parents that I have kind of this rule for myself. I'm never going to do reality television or pageants. I just thought that's just not for me. And there was just one night, I think I was 17 years old, and I was just playing some music at this restaurant, and there was a American Idol talent scout in the audience, and I got to know him, and he asked if I wanted to just try Skyping. And I thought, there's just no way anything will come out of this. A week later, we got the call that I made it on the show, and I was in disbelief for a long time until we arrived there, and I met Katy Perry, Lionel Richie, and Luke Bryan. And I remember just praying so much, and weirdly, very weird, but it was the least nervous I've ever been in my life. It was so weird. I think because I've never prayed that hard for a performance, and to do my best and to not be nervous. But it
Yeah.
was a wonderful experience.
And when you got the golden ticket, were you shocked that they gave you that golden ticket?
Yeah, I was very shocked, and I was so humbled. I remember growing up and watching the show. I never thought that I'd be holding that gold ticket in my hand. You have to give the ticket back. So this is a ticket that has been going on for years and years. Maybe it was Carrie Underwood's. I don't know. That'd be kind of cool. But Yeah, and meeting Ryan Seacrest was just a dream. That was probably the best part.
Frankie, did you have any regrets after when you got eliminated? Did you have any regrets about being part of the show, especially when you said initially that you weren't quite sure about being in reality shows, and all of a sudden you got this thing, which is something you weren't quite expecting? Did you have any regrets being part of that?
One of the big reasons that I, I feel like I didn't make it very far is because, um, it's more of a TV show than a talent show. And they really want the craziest of the crazy people nowadays. And, which is the way they work. It's a business. But I think I was a little too, maybe boring for reality TV. And, there were times where they wanted me to say how disappointed my parents would be in me if I'd lose the show. And I didn't want them I didn't want to let them make me give answers that really aren't coming from my heart. And so I really don't have regrets. I think people would think I should for that reason, but I learned so many wonderful things, and I'm grateful for where it's taken me.
And the opportunities as a young singer, what do you think those created? What, someone who sings, I presume you must be a bold person, because to sing requires you to go, because there was just like someone saying, go out there, sing, and you look around the room, there's like hundreds of thousands of people in there. What opportunities does singing present for you?
There are so many, at least 3 gigs per week, and speak to kids and sing for them and share my story. And I also sing at weddings and corporate gigs and funerals. And I'm singing at the bedsides of people in their final hours of life. I love my job so much. I couldn't ask for anything else.
I'm so proud. Yeah, because this is what people need. Singing just gives us so much hope.
Mm-hmm.
And without that hope, there's no way of moving forward. I know a lot of people, including myself, whenever I'm down, my first thing I turn to listen to is listening to someone singing a nice set of music. And always positive ones, uplifting music. And that's something
Mm-hmm.
is to us. You enjoy singing the national anthem and never take payments, but instead you will return again and again, and then delegate to each of your song to young people. And I found that really uplifting, that you're really out there to delegate what you do, your hard work, to young people who may be in crisis. How does it impact people, the younger generation? How does your song singing help to reach out to them?
Yeah, I think it is one of my favorite songs to sing. Is such an important song for our country. And I think the song really brings people together, especially all of this war and terror that's just sang the anthem for Marquette University, and we had a moment of silence for all the students, and this was in honor of Ukraine. And right after, I got to sing the national anthem, and everybody sang along, and I just felt this unity, and it was so beautiful. And there were people from around the world that were at this game because it was National Marquette Day. So everybody is just together. We need to work together and fight this together, and again, focus on the things that we can control, like just being kind and supporting each other and singing the national anthem.
I love being focused on the things we can control, being
Mhm.
kind. We can control that. This is our own power. All of us have that superpower in us to be kind to someone else and help someone in need. But singing had its own downside for you. As much as you enjoyed it, you love singing and you love the work it gives you, being in the public eye made you a target of bullying. And you left 2 schools and lost friends because of singing as well, because of, you were in the public eye. How did you cope with the bullies, especially the trouble and depression they caused you?
National anthem gig was cool, and I saw these pictures of the kids on the school walls who took their lives, and it was just so heartbreaking to see this and be introduced to this huge issue. Um, but I found just a love for singing and inspiring people. early on, I did not think what it would lead to with losing my friends. I mean, even adults to this day have turned on me, and parents that have been at my dinner table. And that was really, really hard. I lost all my love for myself. I just really hated myself. I believed in the lie, the lies that I am just not good enough and I will never succeed in life. And there's kids to this day that tell me that I need to just leave. That my city does not want me, and I I can handle that all because I have the love and support at home, and that's what I've always focused on. Is how blessed I really am to have the parents that I have. And that's what kind of worries me, is that there are kids out there, even experiencing worse things that I've gone through, and they don't have the love and support at home. And that's what brings them to decisions that leave those unintended scars on the people who love them the most. So that's why I'm so passionate to travel to schools and speak to kids. And I try to teach kids to really listen and look out for those kids who seem like they are totally hopeless.
I think that's really important because it's true. It's so easy to not look at these kids and forget them. And I think having your parents and having good family around you has really kept you grounded and kept you who you are today. So what inspires you, even though you have all these negative or these trolls that might be good, apart from your family, what else gives you that hope to keep going?
Honestly, my local veterans, I grew up with them. I traveled with them for many years. When I was 11 years old and I sang the national anthem with them, I focus on my mentors and firemen and policemen. I just love seeing them when I'm driving around. And it's all about prayer. I go to church on weekdays, um, and I'm just very passionate about my faith in the Lord. And just stick around the people who really lift me up, and anyone who doesn't want my help or who could possibly bring me down, I completely try to avoid. I don't.
Yeah, I love that. Anyone who doesn't bring you hope, you completely try to avoid and you don't. You don't even look back. You just have to do what you have to do. you
Yes.
you just have to sometimes because what's the point, right? Life is short, and we need to surround ourselves with positive people, people who uplift our spirits, people who make us want to keep living another day, not people who bring us down and take away our juice, our energy. Not worth it. You promote education for anti-bullying and suicidal awareness in your concerts. When did you decide to start using your platform to start promoting these critical issues, anti-bullying and suicidal?
After I did sing at the first national anthem that I've ever done for the suicide prevention walk, that's when I was first aware of this epidemic. And then I just kept singing. And once I did start getting bullied and I got that feeling of hopelessness, I thought, wow, I can really relate to this topic of suicide. So immediately wanted to, I felt like maybe this is my purpose. And so I partnered with lots of organizations to fight suicide, like Generations Against Bullying and Community for Hope. And so I want to be a little more specific and focus more on teenagers, and specifically teenagers in my hometown, in my state of Wisconsin. So I separated from those organizations and I just created my own foundation, my 501c3 nonprofit in 2019. And we grant money to impoverished schools to be able to bring in real professionals to just put into place those sustainable awareness programs that involve the kids and the students and the teachers and the entire community. But that's when COVID kind of hit, unfortunately. So we couldn't get to that right away and go into these schools. So I used the money to create a public service announcement to totally deglamorize teen suicide. And that's been going really well. It's a very bold video, but we've gotten wonderful feedback from people around the nation, of mothers and broken families, feeling really uplifted by it.
you know, the COVID, and we just talked, you just mentioned the pandemic, that really had a big impact on people, especially teenagers, because their world was taken away from them. And everyone who knows this, you're busy, you had an active life, you're playing sports, and all of a sudden you're stuck in your house. You're told to stay home, not do anything. How do your organization reach out to people in that hard times? What did you guys have to do to help them?
Yeah, it was that commercial. We just got right to work. I have a good background in filming and screenwriting, and we wrote the script so fast, and we sent it over to Mirrorless Productions. They're an amazing group where they're all about filming, and we got this done, and we put it right onto TV and radio. It's on YouTube, it's on social media, and we pushed it as much as we could, because we knew that the suicide rates were really going up because of this huge pandemic. So we just wanted to get that message out there as soon as possible.
You did the scripted thing to deglamorize, which is so important. The issue of teen suicide. So there's a thing out there where people are glamorizing it, thinking it's okay, it's fun. Let me just try this out. I'm in this amount of pain, and because I'm suffering, I need to glamorize it. And if you're in pain, you do it quickly. But you did this thing. Your focus is to deglamorize the issue of teen suicide and to highlight the reality, the deep reality of the problem. You know, I have to read what you wrote here. You say most people who contemplate suicide don't really want to die.
Mm-hmm.
They just want to keep living with this. They just want not to keep living with the suffering they are feeling. So with that pain, they don't want to die, but they don't want that pain. That pain is there, and they want that pain to get away. How would you help them take away this pain and find their joy in a world where they want to keep living, but they don't want that pain? How would you balance the both?
Yeah, I encourage these kids to just talk about it and tell everyone they know about how they're feeling. There's a stigma with suicide that causes people to hide from it and whisper about it. It's and in the end, it's rarely even mentioned in obituaries, and I'm just completely against that. We need to not be afraid to use the S word, suicide. And even for parents, we should just, if they're thinking that their kid might be hopeless, they should just go right out and say, are you having thoughts about suicide? And then the next step would be to just listen to them and really listen and not judge them. But it's really important. And again, that's what I tell kids, is to just talk about it and not be afraid to ask for help.
And how can we stop these people who are glamorizing it, making it look cool, that if you're any kind of pain, the easiest solution is to take your life? How can we stop people like that?
There's so many different ways. I mean, you can find that on my foundation website, Franki Moscato. But I also do, regular people like your friends at school, they're going to just eventually forget about it. They're going to move on. But it's going to be the real people who loved you the most that will be left with these horrible scars. They will suffer for the rest of their lives, and that's what we show in the public service announcement. It tells a true story. It's based on a real student named Cody and his family. And that's really the big thing. I mean, would you really want to see your mother crying every day for the rest of her life, just suffering with these scars?
Yeah. That's the best way, because it's true. They when they're in school, everyone wants to be so cool like their friends, but they always forget the love the parents are sacrificing for them, and they know their parents love them, but they just forget because they're in that school gang and school culture. Yeah. The parents have always taught you to focus on things you can control, and I thought, wow, that's a good saying. How would you do this? How would you absorb what they've said? That thing, keyword, focus on things, Franki, on that you can control.
Yeah, I get so many emails from kids who say, like, tomorrow I want to, and it's heartbreaking. But one of the tools that I encourage them to do, that write down a list of things they can't control and things that they can. You can't control your age or you can't sometimes you can't control who's in charge or the wars that are happening, but you can control what time you get up in the morning and how hard you work in school, and even your health sometimes, and your weight and what you eat and how many hours of sleep you get. And I've found that's really helps these kids kind of put that into perspective. It's nice to kind of see it in a list. So that's something that really helps.
Oh, wow. See it in a list. I never thought. That's really phenomenal. It's true. We can't control what's going on in the world right now. We can't control the pandemic. But even though when those times when the pandemic was totally awful, there's still things we could control. We could control what time, if we wanted to spend all day watching TV,
Mhm.
how much food we ate, if we wanted to do a bit of exercise at home, and that is really phenomenal. You are attending an online program at university now, and you're studying, like you said, you're studying the business and political science. What does going to university, because a lot of people who are successful like yourself, you've got it all, you've sang for many many people internationally, you've been on the American Idol, you're running a charity. Most people, you in your shoes, will say to themselves, you know what, I don't need to do this education, but I'm doing just fine where I am. But not you decided to take on this deep challenge. What gave it in you to pursue this goal and to go on to university to better yourself and encourage others to do the same? What led you on this path?
Well, I'm surrounded by really wonderful mentors. I have two entrepreneurship parents. They're big entrepreneurs. My mom has had this amazing dancewear store for almost 30 years. And I'm just really inspired by their dedication and their motivation. I mean, they have taught me to really get stuff done. And I'm just so passionate to constantly be working on things that align with, hopefully align with God's will. And I try to listen to what He wants me to do. And I just feel like I have a lot of work to do. And a big part of that is also just being still sometimes and just sitting in prayer. I think that's a big part of work too. It's important to give myself time to stay grounded and focus on the things that really are most important. But yeah, so really just inspired by those around me, especially my parents. Keep going at it and do my best in everything, especially the class. I should just really try to give it my all, and even more than that.
What next for you, Frankie? You've done it all. What next after this? Where should we be looking out for you?
Well, now I'm God kind of has been aligning my schedule and making things kind of work out perfect for me. Now I have time for this big film that we're making. It's a Christian thriller called Through Eyes of Grace. And I'll be playing the role of Grace, and she's the pastor's daughter who goes missing. It's a really good book, and they're making it into a film. I just have been recording some of the soundtrack. I wrote a song for filming it for the next year, and it's going to come out in a couple years. But I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be really cool. And I also, ironically, I get to have my Be Kind platform in the movie. People are going to be wearing Be Kind t-shirts. We have from Saturday Night Live, Victoria Jackson in the movie. It's going to be a lot of fun.
And well, keep us posted when that one comes out. I would love to talk to you about it and see how well we could get at the world out, as what far as possible, so many people could get to watch this movie that you're doing about, really interesting. And you just said something about this, your movie. You talk a lot about God. What does God mean to you? What does your faith mean to you?
Yeah, I think it's God is everything to me. I think nobody can truly reach real happiness and real lasting joy without involving God in every single aspect of your life. And I encourage people around me. It's so important that we involve prayer in everything that we do. I pray the second I get up in the morning, and I sort of give God my day and invite the Holy Spirit into myself each and every day. But I pray before I do my tests, before I study. before I sing at every single performance and before every rehearsal. So it's really important for me to include him in my life so he helps me make the right decisions, because this is I'm singing in front of kids who might be ready to take their lives. So it's important that I say and do the right things at the right time.
Finally, what is your message of hope to anyone not feeling great at this moment? Any youngster or someone who's looking for a career like yourself, who's thinking of singing but do not have that confidence to go about doing that? What's your message of hope to them?
The biggest way to find lasting happiness is making other people happy. Whenever I'm feeling, I still get back into those dark spots in my life every once in a while with, even if it's with the bullying and cyberbullying. But when I get in those spots, I take myself off the couch and I say, I'm going to go out and make some people happy. So I'll go to the homeless shelter. I'll do everything that I can. And it kind of rejuvenates my spirit and really lifts me up, so we can really find that lasting happiness by lifting other people up and making them happy. It's going to get us out of those horrible spots in our lives.
Thank you. This is really truly amazing. You're phenomenal. You're really out there. You're looking after the teens, making sure they understand that what they're doing. You're talking about suicide, which is something that a lot of people don't talk about. We disguise that word. We don't want to know that that is actually happening, especially in the area of social media. So many people look at these things and they just believe this is my life, and if this is not my life, then I'm not happy. How do we find happiness in social media era?
A lot of accounts that inspire me. We need to be so careful. The second we feel like this is something that I maybe wouldn't want my parents knowing about, you need to take it off your screen. You are what you watch, and even who you hang around with. So I'm so careful about who I follow. And if I do ever feel like I'm starting to feel a little stressed out from social media, I just remove the app from my phone just for a while and just log off. We need to, when I feel like maybe I'm starting to get a little addicted every single day, it's time to turn it off. Just turn off the phone.
And say goodbye. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's okay to do that. You're not going to come back and feel like you've missed a lot. Not really. It will still be the same again. So it's okay to do that. Franki, I'm really honored to spend this time with you. Thank you for the work you're doing to help teens going through any suicidal thoughts. And if anyone needs help, I believe they should reach out to your organization, because you guys are doing a phenomenal work. And even if you're based out in London, you could still give tips and advice on what to do. So I really appreciate this time. And thank you again for your time. I appreciate that.
Thank you. I'm so humbled. You are such an inspiring woman, and I'm really blessed to have met you. I think this happened for a reason, and I love you. You're so gorgeous, and I love your accent.
Oh my goodness. No, thank you so much. I love yours as well. Thank you.